Part of the curse that's placed on the woman in the Bible after the fall is that her desire will be towards her husband. And literally in the Hebrew, that word for desire is thirst. It says, your thirst will be towards your husband, but he shall rule over you. What's interesting, though, is that when you fast forward to John chapter 4, and Jesus meets a Samaritan woman at a well, and the woman's had 5 husbands, and Jesus tells her, even the husband you're with won't satisfy you now. Jesus looks at her and he said, if you drink of this water at this well, you'll thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I have to give you, you'll never thirst again. In other words, the curse that was placed on the woman in Genesis chapter 3, your thirst will be toward your husband, but he'll rule over you, is reversed in John chapter 4, when Jesus shows up and says, I have a water that if you drink it, you'll never thirst again. I'm Pastor Branson Villardo. It's great to have you with us. In this episode of the Bible in 5 minutes, I want to study something very cool from Genesis chapter 3 that's translated all the way to John chapter 4. Like I said in the intro, in Genesis chapter 3, after the fall of man, the curse comes on the woman. And here's what the curse is in Genesis chapter 3. God said unto the woman, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow shall you bring forth children, and your desire shall be towards your husband, and he shall rule over you. Your desire. Now, in the Hebrew, that word for desire is only used 3 times in the Old Testament, but it comes from a root, the Hebrew root word shaka, which means he drank, to drink something. And so teshukah, which is the word for thirst, literally means, which is the word translated as desire, literally means thirst. So the curse that was placed on the woman was, your thirst will be towards your husband, but he shall rule over you. Now, if you fast forward with me to John chapter 4. In John chapter 4, Jesus has an encounter with a woman at a well. I want to give you a little context about this woman. She's a Samaritan, and she's passing through, she's drawing water in the heat of the day. Obviously, she would only draw water in the heat of the day if she had something to be ashamed of or didn't want to be seen by people. And it likely was because of her marriage situation. In verse 16 of John chapter 4, it says, Jesus said unto her, go call your husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, you have well said, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and he who thou now hast is not thy husband. In that you said truly. So this woman was the epitome of, your thirst will be towards your husband, but he shall rule over you. But what's interesting, though, is if you know that Hebrew background, you can read earlier in the chapter, when in John chapter 4, look at what Jesus said to her. In verse 12, she said to Jesus, are you greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well and drank thereof, himself and his children and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, whosoever drinks of this water, speaking of the well that was right there, shall thirst again. But whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. What Jesus said to the woman was, what you've been looking for to satisfy that thirst in a husband, I actually can satisfy it for you right now. He said, I have a water to give you that if you'll drink of this water, you'll never thirst again. You won't have to bounce from husband to husband because you'll be satisfied in Jesus. I want to encourage you wherever you're watching this right now, that if you'll drink of the water, the living water that Jesus has to provide, which comes by the Holy Ghost, that you'll never thirst again. You'll never go another day in your life without or looking for more, or trying to find more in a person. You'll be fully satisfied in Jesus. Now, none of this, what I'm saying, is against marriage. I'm pro-marriage. But I think it's interesting to see. Some people go into marriage out of necessity. Other people, it's driven out of a love. And it's powerful that if Jesus quenches that thirst on the inside of you, then you don't have to move out of necessity. You can be moved by the love for your neighbor and the love of God. I'm Pastor Branson Alerta. I pray this video has been a blessing to you. I pray this Bible study has been a blessing to you. If you haven't already, please share this video and like it to help us get the word out, and subscribe to our channel for more great content just like this. God bless you. We love you.